Welcome, everybody, to the Building Aaronsburg podcast. I'm Thomas Aaronsburg.
And I'm Catherine Aaronsburg.
And today we're going to talk about something that we use in our family as kind of a guiding principle.
A North Star.
Maybe.
An emotional North Star.
Yeah, and that is the 5 love languages. The 5 love languages is from a book that we were given in our pre-marriage counseling.
Was it counseling? I think a family member gave it to us. I think Auntie Maggie gave it to us.
I think Father Zogby gave it to us.
Oh, maybe so.
Well, maybe he told us about it, and then maybe...
That's right. I think that is true.
Maybe gave it to us.
It's a book by Gary Chapman. I don't know how long it's been around, but it's certainly, we've been married 14 years, so it's been around at least that long, if not longer, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, you've probably heard the term Enneagram, and that's a personality test.
Right. And there's a lot of those out there, but that's one that I've heard you talk about around the house.
It's super popular right now. I don't personally take it to heart. I think the people who are really into it can meet someone and go, "Oh, you must be like they guess what number you are."
Yeah.
And there's
how does that work exactly then?
You take a quiz. You take a quiz on it. There's 9.
Oh, like one of these online quizzes like you see on Facebook.
Yeah, it's like the old Cosmo magazines where you just take, the Cosmo quiz and figure out which, type of girlfriend you are or whatever.
Right.
No, this is, it's supposed to be a little more scientific. There's 9 different ones. We're not talking about Enneagram today, but I'll give you a little summary anyway. 9 different personality types. And it's supposed to help, describe the type of personality, because I think with a lot of these things, the more that you can understand more about yourself, the more that you can start to understand why you do things.
I would be willing to bet, and I heard you and your sister talking about it last night, that there's a lot of overlap.
Yes.
And so nobody is a 3 or
I personally see it a lot like astrology, which is like, horoscopes, where it's like you can see yourself in all of them. And so how do you really say that I'm a strong, 1 or 2 or 3, whatever the number is?
Right.
But all that being said, we have always held so tight to the 5 love languages.
Yes.
Which is not a personality test, but to some extent it is, a little bit.
Yeah, I guess
but I think, so we'll explain what the 5 love languages are, and we'll talk a little bit about them. But what I like about the love languages is that usually there is a test online that you can take to find out what your primary love language is. But for the most part, it's a lot easier to identify in yourself once you know what the love languages are.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to identify without taking a quiz, usually, which one is your primary or which one may tie for first. And then you might go refine it and take the quiz or something. Whereas with these personality tests, Enneagram, and there's the Briggs, what's the
Myers?
I want to say Briggs and Stratton, but that's an engine company.
You got your Honda, you got your Briggs and Stratton.
So dumb. So Myers-Briggs, which is another personality test, and a lot of people love those because people like to put people in boxes and pinpoint them in some way. Yeah. And to some extent for employers and things like that, relationship-wise, it helps to understand where people stand and how they feel about certain things, because then you can kind of hone how you treat them. So you're not treating everybody the same.
Sure.
Which is great.
I'll say good employers do that because they care to know.
Sure.
Not all.
Sure.
Anyway, let's go through them. What are they?
Okay, so the 5 love languages, I'm reading them off my phone. They are words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch.
Right.
Those are the 5.
And so you look at yourself, and I think it's kind of two things. One is, which of those do you like to receive? But then secondly, how do you show love?
But that's the whole that's what I've discovered after reading this book. Of course, we're giving you guys a super summary of how we have functioned in life with this book. But the most interesting thing to me was that as humans, we tend to give love the way that we want to receive love.
Right. And I think that's why they use the word language, because that's how you speak
love.
The language of love.
Right. So, for example, my love language, so you have a primary love language, and you have some secondary and tertiary and all that, and you go kind of down. But it's interesting they can kind of group them into 5 for one thing. The second thing, so my love language, I think, is probably words of affirmation.
Yes, it is. Which is something.
That's I'm a real. So you can really hone in on the words of affirmation thing, because Thomas is laughing. I know why, because words of affirmation is my number one love language, but I don't want you complimenting me to my face. That makes me very uncomfortable.
It's not. Yes, you are terrible at receiving compliments.
Yeah.
You're terrible at pat on the backs.
Yeah.
And you don't even know what to do when someone gives them, but you need them. Like, don't do it to me. I want to find out that you agree. That you're happy that I'm doing these things, and
I want to be within earshot. I want to be within earshot when you compliment me, but to where you're not looking me in the face to compliment. I want you to compliment me to someone else when I'm in earshot. Okay?
So she can hear about it.
So
without
easy.
being told.
As a husband, that has to be the easiest thing to accomplish.
Yep.
Make sure that
and I found it out instantly too. Like, we were married, I was like, it's words of affirmation, but it has to be delivered in this sort of packaging.
So in that way, since that is my love language, then I tend to also give love in that way. Now here's the kicker. Your spouse or your significant other or your children or your employees may not receive love the way that you give love.
That's right.
So if I give love as words of affirmation, but your love language is gifts, physical gifts to be received, and I give you a compliment, you're like, she hates me.
I don't see that as you're right. I wouldn't see that as a sign of love. I'd be like, why is she telling me all these things?
If she loved me, she'd give me a box of chocolates, or she'd give me a new wallet, or whatever. And so learning what your love language is, and then learning what someone else's love language is, enables you to give love the way that they want to receive love. Anyway, everybody has to read the book so that we all can show love the way someone wants to receive love. But that's the complicated part. Giving someone love the way that they want to receive it when it's not your natural inclination is a huge challenge. It is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, yeah. Because I think your second one is probably acts of service. And the reason I think that is because every birthday, you go so out of your way to, like, make me these really, and it takes you hours to cook dinner, and you try to make everything real nice around the house.
Yeah, I want it to be a thoughtful,
right?
And
it's the same thing with when you give gifts at Christmas or anything else. Like, you go through all this work to do it.
Well, I don't just want to go buy a thing, Like, to me, when I give a gift,
but people that I would imagine people that if gift giving is your love language, they don't really care what the gift is. Maybe I'm wrong.
That's not true.
Gift giving is not mine, but
yeah.
I would imagine just the act of receiving a gift, even if it's a candy bar,
I think that gift givers like to be thoughtful in their gift giving.
Well, I think everybody does.
But to me, when you give me a gift, what I think of, because I like the thought that went behind it, that's the gift to me. I don't actually care what the thing is that you gave me. It's the fact that when you were shopping, you thought of me while you were shopping. And that means more to me than the actual gift itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
but and I don't know, but I would imagine people maybe that if gift giving is their thing, maybe it's more of a quantitative
10 gifts.
Quality, I don't know. I'm sure there's quality also to it.
We're not gift receivers or givers, and so we can't speak to this, honestly. Yeah, I would say words of affirmation and acts of service are mine for sure. You're a quality time and a physical touch guy.
Definitely a quality time person.
So, like, just sitting on the couch, just being next to him.
Yeah.
That's enough.
That's pretty much it.
Some of these lovely.
Let's go, and even just like going out and doing things. Let's go for a walk.
Yeah.
Let's go to a movie.
Yeah.
Let's go for a drive.
Some love languages
I think we've done that before. I was like, let's just go for a drive. And you're like, I guess.
Where are we going? What are we doing when we get there?
We're not. We're just going to get in the car and drive around and talk to each other.
Yeah. Yeah, some love languages are more demanding than others, I would say. But
maybe. I think that it depends on if it's already one that if it is a love language that you already speak.
That's true.
You probably don't find it very demanding.
That's absolutely true. But most people who are married to each other, their love languages are not the same, I would say.
Oh, I have no idea.
But
obviously, it makes it easier.
It sure does make it easier. Holy mackerel. But that's, I still think it's different than the Enneagram, which is more of the personality type. And a lot of your personality type has to do with nature and nurture kind of mixing together.
Absolutely.
And it forms who you are. but I don't even know how to articulate what this really encompasses that's different than a personality test, because in a way
I mean, it is part of your
It's just a piece of your
personality.
personality, but
Yes.
it's the way that you show love and receive love, which is, oh my gosh, in any relationship, that's such a huge part.
I think just in human nature in itself, everybody wants to be loved
Yeah, of
at the end of
course.
the day. They just want to know that somebody out there loves them, whether it's their parents, their best friend, their spouse, whatever. They want to know that they're loved.
Yeah.
So if not knowing your love language, like not taking the time to do this inner work for yourself, you know, you may not notice that people are trying to show that they love you.
So
They
that
just don't necessarily speak your language.
Okay, let's take a break and then we'll talk about that when we come back, because I do want to talk about the flip side of the love language.
All right, we'll be back in just a minute.
Welcome back to Building Aaronsburg. We've been talking about the 5 love languages, and we've talked so much about how we give love. And on the flip side of that, there's how we receive love from other people. And a
Mhm.
huge part of this love language book, well, the other half of it, the other 50%, is being able to cognizantly realize how someone else is showing you
Right, to
love.
identify their love language
Yes.
so that you can see that they are
So that
trying to give you.
Yes, even if they are not giving you love the way you receive it,
Yep.
you can acknowledge that they are trying to give you love.
Yes.
Because there's a difference between someone not trying to give you love at all and you just not recognizing it
Yes.
as giving love,
That's correct.
which is a huge problem in marriages, I think. It's like, oh, he went and changed my tire. Like, that's what he
Right.
should have done anyway. It's like, but that is him showing you
Yes.
love through acts of
Right.
service. That is a love language.
Right. You come home to a clean house, and if acts of service is not something you recognize as a love language, you came home to a clean house and didn't realize that your spouse has poured their love out to you,
Right.
and you just walked in like, well, whatever, hey.
House is supposed to be clean anyway, or
Right,
whatever.
or maybe you just don't even notice, or like, oh,
Yeah.
she cleaned it, or he cleaned it, and
That's nice.
that was nice of them. But you don't say thank you, or you don't whatever, and this person like really just like
And that's the
laid it all out there
just
for
the
you.
acknowledgement of the love
Right.
that was given. So I'm not a gift giver, but I'm fully aware that gift giving is a love language. And so receiving a gift is like, oh my gosh, that's so thoughtful of you. I recognize, like, I see you, I acknowledge you,
Right.
and I
That is
realize,
probably your love language, and so I need to identify that.
especially if there's someone in your life who is a consistent person in your life that's doing similar things over and over again, where you're recognizing a pattern.
Right.
Like my aunt, she's a nun. Like, she is acts of service through and through. That is who she is. I mean, it is in her DNA, and all of these love languages are just part of our DNA. And she doesn't know that that's what her, like, she knows that's what she has to give. She's given a vow of poverty, so she knows she can't give money, or she can't give, a lot of things. And so she gives her time, and she's service to people.
Right.
And that is how she shows her love. And so I have tried very hard to give that back to her. Now,
The acts of service.
yes, the acts of service, or, giving her memorable type gifts. When I was in college, I would write her notes and tell her how appreciative I was, so of all the acts of service that she does for me,
Right.
recognizing that that's what she is able to give, and making her feel like, I think you feel appreciated. Feeling
Right.
appreciated for whatever it is has got to be like the epitome of all of it, right? Don't you want for someone to acknowledge that you have done something for them, that you have shown
Well,
love to
yeah,
them?
I think that. Yeah, I mean, getting back to it, you want to know that you want to know that you are loved, and at the same time, when you're trying to show that love, you want people to know that
Well, of course,
that
because
you love them too, because a lot of people aren't going to just come out and say I love you.
right.
Like that's really hard to say, or they think it sounds cliche or not heartfelt enough, and
Well,
so
and they may not view changing the tire as love. Like, a lot of people can't
Sure.
articulate that and understand that that is why they're doing it, but it is.
right.
And that you should be able to say, sometimes we have to lead the horses to the water to drink.
Right.
So if I mean, I sound like I'm a big promo for this book, but I mean, we've been married 14 years, and I can't even countless times we have referenced love language between the two of us, and we haven't
Yes.
even talked about our kids yet, what love languages our children have, because those are all very different and they
Right.
change over time.
Well, and as their children too, they definitely don't know how to identify
Oh, for sure.
love. Children definitely want to feel loved and safe, and they don't probably even think about. I mean, they barely speak their own language,
Yeah. Let
the
alone,
spoken language, let alone
yeah.
identifying these emotional languages, I guess, is
Gosh,
what you might
everything's
want
so
to call them.
confusing. I mean, 2020 is probably a great time to be able to review your children's love languages. Now, I know since we had read this book so early before we even got married, I think that we started to try to identify love languages in our children pretty early, probably earlier than they were really noticeable. You know, do you remember they're like 2 and 3 years old? And like, what's
Yeah,
their love? Every child likes to be hugged and kissed and,
sure.
you know, spent time with. And so it's hard to really articulate. But as they grow a little older, they really start to develop a true love
Right.
language. And there
And
is a love language book for kids
right.
or teens or
And I
whatever.
think there's even a love language quiz for them because I think
Yeah.
we did that like in the car one day
Yeah.
going to school or something. And
And
we've identified for the I mean, again, like you said, a couple of them are still probably too young
yeah,
to really
the
know,
youngest
but
is probably too young.
the other ones we've
We've
talked
pinned it
about it.
down pretty good, and they have been part of the process. It wasn't like we were handing them this quiz in the car and they
Yeah.
didn't know what it was.
Right.
We told them what the results were. We explained to them what it meant, and even now we've got one that every time we give him a hug, he'll be like physical touch. He
Yeah.
loves a hug, but he has to acknowledge, which is great. I think it's great for him to acknowledge what it is.
Yeah, because
about
then he
that.
knows that when he's being hugged, or even the other day, this is going to sound like such a weird, like, how was that an act of love? The other day we were doing yard work, the day that you didn't do any yard work with us.
Again,
Anyway, when we finished it
I
up,
was inside the house cleaning, so get off me.
he and I were kind of like cleaning the tools in the backyard. And I think we had somewhere to go that evening. And I was like, "Hey, are you gonna shower before we go?" He's like, "Yeah, probably." So I picked him up
Mm-hmm.
and I jumped in the pool,
Oh yeah, I remember
in
that.
the freezing pool.
Oh, this was okay.
And
Yeah, I remember
yeah,
this time. He
so
he still
I
talks
know
about
he
it.
still talks about it, but
He
I
loves
knew,
it.
I knew when I did that was gonna be like for
A big
him,
deal
like
for
this
him.
is such a loving moment
Yeah.
between us.
Dad threw me in the pool.
Dad throwing me in
Let
the
me tell
freezing
you,
cold pool.
the difference though for him specifically was the fact that you jumped into the pool with him.
Right, I didn't throw him in the pool.
You did not throw him in the pool.
Right.
You picked him up and y'all jumped into the pool together.
Yes.
Into the
If I'd have
cold.
thrown him in the pool, he'd have been mad at me.
He would have been mad.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm glad you made that decision kind of on the
Yeah, no, I was planning it the whole time. Like we're cleaning the tools, I was thinking about doing it. Well, I mean, like we were sweaty. It was cool outside. It was probably, in the 50s or 60s, and the pool right now is in the 50s.
Yeah.
So I knew the pool was going to be freezing cold,
Yeah.
but I wanted to cool off, and I didn't want to be in the pool for too long. So,
but yeah, I definitely think it's a healthy way to talk to your kids about, how emotions, without it being this like crazy weird conversation with your kids. Because I think that sometimes I'm like, Mom, what are you talking about? I don't want to talk about this. But it's a good way to start identifying it. And once we can, I just think it's an exercise, if nothing else, it's an exercise in putting yourself in someone else's shoes, which, gosh, we could all be a little more empathetic in our lives.
yes,
So it really brings you to the more empathetic place where you can constantly, if my mother-in-law asks me, would you like me to XYZ, I'm going, that is how she's showing her love.
Right.
I really would, I hear people complain about their in-laws all the time, or like something that their spouse is or isn't doing, but then you hear they don't mention the thing that they did do for them,
right, because they didn't recognize it for what it was.
because they didn't recognize it.
Yeah.
So if we could all just start recognizing a little more of the way that people really are trying to help and trying to do things that you would like for you,
Yeah.
you just have to recognize them.
Yeah, and this is sort of switching gears a little bit, but it's kind of in the same thread. Is in the workplace, you can kind of see this too. So, as an assistant football coach, we've had several head coaches come through, and just kind of came to my mind. But there was one in particular that would always buy us stuff. Like that was his thing.
Yeah.
We got more polo shirts.
What do you got? You guys call it cloth.
We call it cloth. Yeah. I felt like every time we had a meeting, though, we were going to be coming home with something.
Yeah.
It was like Christmas. Every Sunday was going to be Christmas. He would hand us a shirt. He would hand us a hat or whatever.
And y'all loved that stuff. A lot of y'all, clothing is the way to your heart. Clothing in the colors of the school mascot. It's all that matters.
Well, because
that orange and black,
you
baby.
got to represent, you got to make sure you're wearing the right color. Anyway, yeah, identifying that within your own workplace, you're a boss. You have employees. So the things that you do for them, maybe you don't know what their love language is. So
I
if
spend a lot
you're
of times speaking to my employees and just like having conversations with them just about their daily lives to know like how many brothers and sisters they have, how many, they
right,
have family out of town, how are people feeling about coronavirus, like I try to understand them because it takes a while to understand a love language unless you like straight up give them the quiz.
right, and
You
just
know,
ask them, hey, what's your love
yeah, I
language?
think you can.
Because when Christmas comes around, I want to make sure that
I'm giving it to you
make
the
you know
way.
that you feel appreciated, whether
Yeah.
that's a gift card or whether it's
Because the way that you feel
pat on the back.
appreciated is going to change the projection of how they are going to
Yes,
work in the workplace.
absolutely.
And so, I mean, if you have a lot of employees, it's a lot more difficult to do. But that's to me part of the manager's a manager over that group
Right.
of people. That is their job, is to understand their group that they're taking care of enough to know how to take care of them properly in a
Right.
way that will make them not only want to work there, but love working where they work and who they work for. And oh my gosh, when I hired both of my employees, I just remember thinking, I want to be the kind of place that their mom and dad are proud that they work for me.
Yeah.
Like, I want them to be able to go home and say, I'm working for Catherine Ahrensberg, and their parents be elated that they're working for such a good company.
Mm-hmm.
That was really important to me. And I know that sounds crazy, like I shouldn't care what the parents think, but it matters as far as treating people well. Like overall, that's all I want to do is just treat people well and treat the people the way that they want to be treated and to be proud to work with me themselves, but their parents too.
Right.
I've hired two very young people, and so their parents are very much still part of their lives. So anyway. Welcome back to Building Ahrensberg. We're going to take our listener question, which is, drumroll please.
We have an electric drum set sitting right next to us, and maybe one day I can actually plug it in. I can get Thomas in here, and he can...
He would love that.
He would absolutely love that.
Love, love, love. He can be the peanut gallery on the side. So the question is, how do you guys vacation?
Well, we get in our private plane, jet to Europe.
Yeah.
Without our children.
Yeah. Okay, so vacation is a funny word.
Yeah, we need to start with definitions here.
Yeah, let's start with definitions. We rarely vacation because a vacation means there are no children. At least at the age that our children are, which is 12 and under, if you are taking people with you that cannot independently pack for themselves and generally
watch themselves, feed themselves.
Yeah. And there's no care given, you're not going on a vacation. You are going on a
family trip.
So I'm not sure I'm sure this person was probably talking about family trips too, like with your kids.
Right. That's probably what it is. With all that's going on, you have 4 children. How do you get out of here and go try to relax a little bit?
We don't go far. We don't do many things. We might go to the beach for a day. We don't do a lot of week-long trips. And again, part of that, I think for me, if Thomas was not married to me, he would probably go on a lot more family trips. I'm an anxiety mess when it comes to combining relaxation and spending money. Those two things for me are nightmarish.
Well,
it's a huge problem.
I think it's aside from the spending money, there's a lot of planning that has to go into that too.
And I'm not a planner. It's interesting for what I do for a living, which is planning a lot of things. Mm-hmm. When it comes to my personal life, I don't want to plan a trip down to the moment. I don't know what it is about me, but I'm not interested in researching locations and seeing what's going on in those locations.
And there's a lot of, and not just the location, but just finding a place to stay. How long is it going to take to get there?
Do they have breakfast?
Restaurants? Yeah, do they have the free breakfast?
And that's all. A lot of that is a family trip. If you and I go on a vacation together,
we could just pick up and leave right now.
We could pick up and leave right now, and then it's like we'll walk down the street, and if there's a restaurant, we'll go to the restaurant, and if there's not, then we'll eat it.
Go to the next.
We can eat at 2 p.m. or we can eat at 5. Like there's no there's no rules.
I don't need to worry about spoiling someone's dinner with a late snack, and then they're gonna be in bed late. And
so to me, all of the planning that has to go into a family vacation, plus all the money that it takes to make it happen, it's just not. and then you're packing up all your stuff in a bag, and I'm as the mom and you as the dad are having to do all the same things we were having to do at home, but we're just doing them in a different location.
Right. Which makes it worse because you don't have all of the things that you use to deal with it. When something happens here, somebody spills something here.
Yeah,
you very quickly can clean it up.
Right.
We can get a new outfit on them
Yeah.
real quick or whatever. But when you're on a trip and something like that happens in the car, or I got to go to the bathroom right now, or I don't know when the next rest stop is
Yeah.
or whatever. It's
it's
a lot
not
of issues that come up.
every facet of a family vacation is not fun for me. So for all those reasons, I am a disaster as far as it's not fun for me to plan, so I'm in an anxiety mess leading up to it. I don't love the expenditure of money. Then when we're there, I'm miserable because me and relaxation don't happen in the same sentence.
No, they don't.
And I'm just bad at it. I think we went to the mountains one time, which we got lots of stories about that mountain trip. Like, I thought we were going to fall off the side of the mountain. So we went to Helen, Georgia, to stay in a barrel cabin, which is up in, is it Ruby Falls? No, it's Unicoi State Park.
Right.
We were like, I saw it in Southern Living. I was like, let's go do this thing. This looks so much fun. Let's have a family vacation. The kids are old enough now to where they're not in diapers and stuff. Like,
right, yeah.
This is
They
something we can
walk
do.
themselves and
Yeah, and I wanted to go to something that wasn't the beach. Like, it'd be cool outside. It'd be pleasant. And I think it's like spring break.
It was a nice time of year. It was a little cool. But
it was starting to get hot here.
Right.
By that time of the year, it's real hot. So we go somewhere that's a little cooler. Well, I didn't realize, like, when I said I want to go to the mountains, I forgot about the part where we had to drive up into the mountains,
right.
up hills. And I also forgot, I thought that it was a unique experience when we went up a volcano in Hawaii to Haleakala. I thought it was a unique experience just in that case, that I thought that going up a hill was going to make me think I was going to die. But no, it's just general.
Every hill when it's dark outside.
Okay, in my defense, I didn't know that we would be arriving at
Right.
Unicoi State Park at night.
Right.
I thought we had planned, again, my planning, which didn't happen. We planned to be up there during the day, but we brought the kids and they got hungry. And so we stopped somewhere to eat
Right.
pizza. And by the time we got out from eating pizza, it was getting dark outside. And we had yet to ascend the mountain to get to Unicoi State Park, where we would be staying the night and for several days after that. So after basically me needing to take a Xanax, which I don't own, never have owned, but I probably should start holding on. I need to like buy somewhere to hold on to for these type trips.
Mm-hmm.
We finally get there. We get our cabin and everything. And by like a day in, I wanted to just like roll down the mountain. Like, what are we doing here?
Right.
We're sitting in this cabin. I'm about to come out of my skin with not boredom, just like I need something
you
to
just can't
do.
Relax. The kids have no problem just going outside and throwing a ball or whatever.
I can't relax. And not only that, but like I'm sitting here on quote unquote vacation. I can't relax, but I don't want to be cleaning either. Like I'm supposed to be on vacation. I don't want to clean, but what am I doing? What are we doing? I didn't bring any books. I didn't bring anything to do.
There's just no hanging out.
I just can't hang out. It's not my jam.
Right. Which I do. I mean, I can hang out.
Yeah,
The other thing too is you don't do great when the plans change.
Oh, bad.
All of a sudden, it's like we have this plan, but this came up. We have to change.
But by the way, things are changing or whatever because I didn't plan well enough. I didn't know that.
But I would say, when you're taking your whole family like that you can't plan for stuff.
I should have known if such and such was open or this was closed for the season because of you're not quite to the spring yet or whatever,
Right.
which is what happened. And so we couldn't do all these like water
A
activities.
lot of the activities that we thought we would be able to.
Yeah, if I had just done some research, but I'm not interested in the research. It's a
Sure.
whole thing. Guys, ultimately, we don't go on vacations or trips because
we
they
don't.
end up.
Or if we do, they're very short. They're
Yeah.
a day to the beach and back. Not a whole lot of things packed. Not a whole lot of plans can go wrong. I mean, it's
Well, unpopular opinion. I hate the beach, so that's fun too. I'm just a box of fun, guys. I really am.
That's why we bought the house that has the pool, so that we can just
So y'all can get the
send the
pool,
kids out.
and I can just watch y'all in the pool.
or you could stay inside and work, which is probably what you're doing while we're out there swimming in the pool.
Gosh, I've been in that pool twice probably in our 3 years of being here.
Yeah. Well, I hope that answers your question. Not really sure what the question was exactly. I think that they were referring more to how do we take the entire family, not just if it's just us. It's a completely different. We didn't really talk about that, but
if it's just us, we're a little more willing to spend more money But then at the same time, it's less money because we're not taking 4 people with us.
Of us, right?
Like, it's a whole thing. But
we don't need a plan because it's just us. We kind of just do what we want to do.
But not having a plan costs you more money, which we have been victims of several times, especially on that trip we just talked about up to Unicoi. We did get, we rented the cabins and all that stuff, but then we ended up going to a Braves game. But, if we had planned ahead, we could have gotten the parking and all the different things. And so we ended up spending more money than we would have if we had planned ahead.
Although we did happen into one deal that.
Oh, pray tell. No.
Okay, so we decided to leave Unicoi State Park a day early.
Because I was coming out of my skin.
Right. So let's go to Atlanta. We can catch a Braves game.
And go to IKEA.
He
lured me to a Braves game with the with the promise of IKEA.
But on the way in, I was like, well, look, hotels always have super cheap deals last minute.
Yeah.
And we found like a 4-star hotel or something for, I don't know, 100 and something a night. It was really cheap. I remember. But the reason I know that is we went down to breakfast the next morning. I was like, dang, this place is nice. They got a guy that makes omelets for you.
We are really showing ourselves by judging what a nice hotel is. There's someone listening going like, oh, the guy making an omelet is a fancy hotel? Oh.
Versus when they just put the stuff out there.
The muffins or whatever. Right. Or like the English muffin. Yeah. Oh, gross. Anyway. We really appreciate you guys listening. If you want to follow us on social media, we're on Facebook at Building Aaronsburg. We're on Instagram, which is probably where we dedicate the most of our time and effort into Instagram, which is also Building Aaronsburg. And then if you want to email us a construction story, a funny, interesting, scary construction story, you can email us at buildingaaronsburg@gmail.com. And until next time, we'll see y'all. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Addresses. They record it. They can edit it out. And then I said,
but get out of it.
It could be in their blooper. It's all I care. Okay.